months after we buried my Walter in Mount Pleasant Cemetery, I never told my son Bobby about the cabin in Lake Tahoe. Thank God I kept my mouth shut, because on Tuesday morning this March, as steam rose from my porcelain mug with flowers, the one my granddaughter Ashley gave me for Mother's Day, Bobby called with that corporate lawyer voice I'd learned to dread. If you're watching us from somewhere special today, tell us in the comments where you are from. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe. It helps more people discover this story. The smell of bacon still lingered in the kitchen when Bobby began his rehearsed speech. At 41, my oldest son had that cutting impatience of men who think money solves everything. This house in Maple Heights is too big for a woman your age, Mom. 72 years as if it were a death sentence, not a medal of survival. I clutched my Bible tighter, the one Walter gave me on our first anniversary. The time-yellowed pages held my prayers written in the margins with blue pen. Bobby never understood that age brings wisdom, not inability to make decisions. Dad's pension doesn't even cover your blood pressure medicine, he continued with absolute certainty, assuming things he never bothered to ask directly. True that I let him assume during all those years of marriage. Walter always said, "Margaret, let them think we're poor. Humility never killed anyone, but arrogance has destroyed many families." Now I understood the wisdom behind my husband's words. My children had become exactly the kind of people he tried to avoid. My hands trembled as I placed the mug on the delicate porcelain saucer. That set I received from my mother when I got married in 1975. Survivor of 4 decades of Sunday dinners and family Christmas parties. Every small crack told a story of love and domestic care. Now Bobby spoke of my life as if it were a failed business, as if 48 years of marriage could be liquidated in a phone conversation. The disrespect cut deeper than any sharp blade. Bobby took a deep breath, preparing for the final blow of his argument. "Mom, you need to be realistic about your current financial situation. Realistic about a situation he never cared to truly know." I looked out the kitchen window, seeing the garden Walter and I tended together. The red roses needed pruning, but still bloomed with dignity. Weeds took over the flower beds, but didn't destroy the beauty. Everything that was once shared joy now seemed like solitary abandonment. This conversation isn't about what I want. It's about what needs to happen. The coldness in my own son's voice left me speechless for a moment. When did he learn to speak to me as if I were an incompetent child? When did my mother's love become a burden to be managed? I raised this man, taught him values, took care of him when he was sick. Now he treated me like a business logistics problem. A mother's heart can break in ways children never imagine. "I need to think about it, Bobby," I murmured, trying to buy time. "There's nothing to think about, Mom. The practical decisions have already been made. Practical decisions made without the person most affected by them." I felt a cold anger growing deep in my chest, an indignation I hadn't felt in decades, since my young married days. Walter always said I had fire when I needed to defend our family. Maybe it was time to rekindle that flame to defend myself. Bobby cleared his throat, preparing to deliver the news that would change everything. "Jennifer and I already discussed your options during Sunday dinner last week. Jennifer, my 38-year-old daughter who works at the bank in Denver, the same one who hasn't called me in 3 months, not even to ask how I'm coping with grief. They had met to decide my future without including me in the conversation, as if I were an object to be relocated, not a person with free will. The family betrayal hurt more than any physical pain I had ever experienced. "Options," he said, as if I were a math problem to be solved. Not the woman who worked double shifts when he needed braces, not the mother who saved every penny to pay for his law school. My hands automatically searched for the silver crucifix on my neck, the one that belonged to my grandmother, passed down through generations of strong women, women who survived the Depression, wars, and the ingratitude of their own children. I needed their strength running in my veins. At this moment, "We think you should sell this house and move into Jennifer's annex." The annex, a converted garage behind her house in Aurora, with that persistent smell of dampness, and only one small west-facing window. The same place they put me up last Thanksgiving like a distant relative, while the important adults ate turkey in the main dining room. I had prepared the food, but didn't deserve to sit at the place of honor. The humiliation still burned in my throat like bitter bile. "It's the most sensible decision, Mom," Bobby continued in that cold, professional voice. "You can help with the kids, and Jennifer can keep an eye on you. Keep an eye on me, as if I were a criminal on probation. At 72, I would become an unpaid nanny for my own grandchildren, Ashley and Tyler, who barely know me because Jennifer always had too much to do, always too busy to bring the kids to visit Grandma on weekends. Now suddenly, I would be convenient for taking care of them for free." Silence stretched across the phone line like a venomous snake. I could hear Bobby breathing, waiting for my immediate surrender to their plans. The kitchen wall clock ticked 9:30 a.m. with its familiar sound, the same clock Walter and I heard every morning for 48 years of happy marriage. Now every second felt like an eternity of decisions I didn't want to make, decisions that would define whether I would spend my last years with dignity or as a burden. Life shouldn't be so cruel to someone who always tried to do the right thing. "Obviously, we'll take care of all the paperwork for you," Bobby added generously, as if signing documents was too complicated for my senile mind. "Jennifer knows a great realtor in Littleton, her husband's cousin. Family business. Always easier for everyone but the victim." I imagined them discussing my life during dessert, dividing the profits in advance, calculating how much each would receive from the forced sale of my house. Greed had replaced love in this family I helped build. Bobby took a deep breath, preparing to reveal the real reason for this urgent call. "A portion of the money can help Jennifer with the down payment on the new house." Finally the naked truth appeared like sun through dark clouds. It wasn't about my well-being or my happiness in old age. It was about their financial well-being, financed by my misfortune. My house would be sacrificed on the altar of my own children's ambition. A mother's love had turned into a bank account to be withdrawn when convenient. My hands found my wedding ring, spinning that simple eternal gold, the same one Walter placed on my finger 48 years ago, at the Baptist church. In joy and sorrow, in richness and poverty, we had promised. He kept the promise until his last breath on his hospital bed. Now my children wanted me to break that promise by selling our house, the place where we loved, dreamed, and built a family we thought was solid. How can love turn into betrayal so quickly after a death? "We've already found an interested buyer," Bobby continued, and my stomach dropped like a broken elevator. Jennifer's realtor had a client with cash in hand, and in a hurry to close the deal. $250,000 close in 2 weeks. No complications. $250,000 for the house Walter and I bought for $40,000 in 1978, where we raised our children, where we planted that oak tree that now shades the entire porch, where we made love, fought, reconciled, and grew old together with dignity. They had reduced our entire life to a cold real estate transaction. They calculated everything behind my back during Sunday dinners I wasn't invited to. They discussed my intimate life as if it were a stock market investment. "Of course, we'll help with all the complicated paperwork, Mom." As if signing my name was a task beyond my mental capabilities. Jennifer had even chosen the paint color for my little room in the annex. "Baby blue," she said, "because it's calming for people your age." The infantilization of my person was happening in real time. And obviously a portion of the money can help Jennifer with that house in Highlands Ranch, the $500,000 house she'd been coveting for months, with a pool, landscaped garden, and 4 bedrooms for the grandchildren who rarely visit me, partially financed by the forced sale of the house where I raised these ungrateful children. The irony was so bitter I could taste it. My sacrifice would pay for her luxury, while I lived in a converted garage. The math of family greed never ceases to amaze me. Bobby paused, expecting my gratitude for their generosity. "It's an opportunity that might not come again, Mom." Opportunity for whom? For me? Or for their pockets? I looked around my kitchen, seeing decades of memories in every corner. The mark on the cabinet where Bobby measured his height as a child. The chipped tile where Jennifer dropped a plate, helping with the dishes. How could they want to erase these memories for money? I need an answer today, Mom. His voice grew more impatient. The buyer wants to close by Friday, and we can't let this chance pass. Friday, 4 days to dismantle 48 years of married life. 4 days to pack memories that don't fit in cardboard boxes. 4 days to accept that my children see me as an obstacle to their success. The haste revealed they feared I would change my mind if I had time to think. Psychological pressure disguised as a unique opportunity was pure cowardice. Bobby, my voice came out firmer than I expected. Do you care to know how I'm coping with your father's death? An awkward silence stretched across the phone line. Do you want to know if I'm sleeping, eating, or just if I'm functioning for your plans? I could hear him swallowing, with no answer to such basic questions. When was the last time you asked about my feelings? Not about my bank account? Truth had the power to reveal the rot hidden beneath family veneer. Bobby cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the conversation he was losing. Mom, of course we care, but crying won't pay your bills. Crying won't pay bills. As if grieving were a luxury I couldn't afford. Jennifer and I are trying to be practical about your situation. Practical about a situation they never bothered to truly understand. Walter had left me more financially secure than they imagined, but their ignorance was convenient for the greedy plans they had devised. After I hung up the phone, I sat at the kitchen table where Walter paid bills every Thursday. The secret drawer on the right side held documents my children never saw. Bank statements showing a savings account that grew silently for decades. Stock investments Walter made quietly, always thinking of my future. The deed to the Lake Tahoe cabin, bought 5 years ago as a retirement surprise for when we want to fish and watch the sunset without anyone bothering us, he said. Now I understood that he anticipated exactly this situation with the children. Walter had transferred everything to my name 2 years before he died. Margaret, you're going to need independence when I'm gone, he said one Sunday afternoon. At the time I found it too morbid to discuss, but now I see the wisdom. He knew Bobby and Jennifer better than I wanted to admit. He knew they would see my widowhood as a financial opportunity, not an emotional loss. True love protects even after death, planning every detail carefully. My husband had armed me for a war I didn't even know I would face. The joint account Bobby knew about only had basic monthly expenses, $3,000 that came in from the pension, and went out to pay for electricity, phone, groceries. But the individual account at the National Bank quietly held $80,000. Money from years of savings, investments, and even a small inheritance from Walter's mother. More than enough to live comfortably for the next 20 years. If I was careful with expenses, I could even leave something for the grandchildren. Financial security was there, hidden from my own children's greed. I opened the sealed envelope Walter left me with specific instructions. Only open if Bobby or Jennifer try to force you to sell the house. He knew our children better than I ever admitted to myself. The letter was written in his careful handwriting, each word chosen with love. Margaret, if you're reading this, it means our children have shown their true colors. Don't let them turn you into a victim just because I'm convenient for them. Tears blurred some words, but the message was crystal clear. The cabin on the lake is completely paid for and furnished. Walter continued in the letter. The neighbors, Earl and Dorothy, promised to take care of you if you need anything. Go there. Write that book you always wanted, Fish from the Porch, every morning. Live for yourself, not for the selfish expectations of our adult children. Every word was a posthumous hug, an encouragement to be brave. Walter had planned my escape from the family trap that even I didn't see approaching. True love frees us. It doesn't tie us to obligations that diminish us. I picked up the phone and called Earl, the cabin neighbor I had never met. Margaret, Walter talked about you every weekend he was here. His warm voice made me cry for the first time in weeks. He said that one day, you might need a quiet place to start over. Starting over at 72, a concept that seemed impossible until this morning. The cabin is ready, with food in the fridge and firewood for the fireplace. For the first time in months, I felt hope growing in my chest like spring. Earl told me about the sunsets on the lake, about the welcoming community of retirees. People who gathered for card games, morning walks, shared dinners. Dorothy has already set aside some local recipes your wife would love to try. A social life based on real companionship, not forced family obligations. Walter built a small library on the porch overlooking the water. He said you always wanted to write, but never had time just for yourself. Suddenly, widowhood seemed less like an end, and more like a new beginning. In the early hours of Thursday, I started packing only what truly mattered. Photos of the family when we were happy. Before greed replaced love. My sewing machine, favorite books. The simple jewelry Walter gave me. My mother's porcelain would stay for Jennifer, if she really wanted family memories. The rest was just furniture, objects that could be replaced anywhere. The true memories I carried in my heart, not in moving trucks. For the first time in months, every movement had purpose and dignity. I called the moving company Walter, always recommended for emergencies. I need to transport some things to Lake Tahoe tomorrow morning. The manager knew Walter from their days working together in the union. Mrs. Margaret, we are very sorry for your loss. Walter was a man of his word. Don't worry about anything. We'll take care of everything, with the utmost care. Even strangers treated me with more respect than my own children. The kindness of strangers highlighted the family's cruelty even more. I spent the afternoon organizing documents Bobby and Jennifer never cared to see. Insurance policies, investment certificates, deeds they didn't know about. Everything in order, everything legal, everything planned by a man who loved his wife. Walter had even hired a lawyer to transfer the house property. No mortgage, no debts, none of the financial problems my children imagined. The house was mine by right and by law, not theirs by greed and presumption. Truth had the power to dethrone self-proclaimed kings of another's kingdom. In the bedroom drawer, I found cards Walter hid for special occasions. For my Margaret, on the day she decides to live only for herself. Inside, a small golden key with a red ribbon tied to it. This is the key to the happiness you deserve, my eternal love. How did he know this day would come, that I would need to choose between family and dignity? His planning revealed a deeper love than I could comprehend in life. Some men leave debts. Others leave wings for their wives to fly free. Bobby called again on Friday morning, his voice anxious and controlling. Mom, I need your answer about the house today. The buyer is impatient and Jennifer has already canceled other commitments to help you. Jennifer, who hadn't called me in months, was now sacrificing time to help me. I've already set aside some boxes for your most important things, Mom. He had decided what my important things were without consulting me. His arrogance knew no bounds and respected no basic boundaries. Bobby, my voice came out calm like a lake on a windless morning. I'm not selling the house, and I'm not moving into Jennifer's annex. Shocked silence on the other end of the line, as if I had spoken Chinese. I'm moving to a place where I'm valued for who I am, not for what I own. A place where my age is respected, not used against me. I could hear him swallowing, trying to process my refusal of their perfect plans. The freedom to say no was sweeter than any dessert I had ever tasted. Mom, you can't make decisions like that alone, he stammered desperately. You need to be supervised, guided by people who understand business. Supervised as if I were mentally incapable, not a grieving widow making decisions. Jennifer will be furious, and I can't be responsible for the consequences. The consequences of my independence scared them more than my happiness interested them. They wanted a broken Margaret, not a Margaret who owned herself. The strength I found at that moment surprised me like lightning on a clear day. There are some things you never knew about your father's finances, I said calmly. Bobby was absolutely silent, probably holding his breath with anxiety. The house has been paid off for 15 years. Without a cent of outstanding debt. There's a savings account you are completely unaware of, with substantial amounts, and a property in Lake Tahoe that Walter bought, thinking of our retirement. Each revelation fell like a bomb on the sandcastle of their assumptions. The financial ignorance they cultivated turned against them like a sharp boomerang. "That's impossible," Bobby stammered, his lawyer's voice failing for the first time. "Dad always said you lived on the edge, saving every penny. Your father said that because he knew the greedy character you developed. He wanted to protect our dignity from the family exploitation he correctly foresaw. Walter's strategy proved to be brilliant. Hide abundance to reveal ingratitude. If my children had sought me out of love, they would have discovered the truth naturally, but they sought me out of self-interest. So they found only what they deserved to find." Jennifer called 20 minutes later, her voice shrill with ill-disguised desperation. "Mom, Bobby told me this crazy story about hidden money. You can't make important decisions in your current emotional state." My emotional state was legitimate grief, not senile dementia as she implied. "I've already spoken with a lawyer about guardianship, in case you don't cooperate with us." Guardianship, the ultimate threat from children who want to control inconvenient parents. The mask of concern finally dropped, revealing the naked face of greed. "Jennifer, when was the last time you asked me how I'm feeling? Not about money or houses or moves, but about my grieving mother's heart." Awkward silence stretched for seconds that seemed like eternal hours. "When was the last time you called just to say you miss your mother?" She couldn't answer because the answer would expose her complete emotional neglect. True love asks about feelings before talking about finances. Children who love don't threaten with lawsuits at the first disagreement. "Mom, you're being irrational." Jennifer tried to regain lost control. "We're trying to take care of you in the best possible way. Take care by cutting my independence, selling my house, controlling my life. The annex would be perfect. You'd have privacy, but with necessary supervision. Necessary supervision for a woman who raised 2 children and kept a home for decades. As if widowhood were synonymous with instant and irreversible mental incompetence. Infantilization disguised as care was an insult to my preserved intelligence. "I've already made my decision," I replied with a firmness that surprised me. "I'm going to live in Lake Tahoe, in the house your father bought for our happiness. You can visit when you want to get to know your grandmother for real, not her wallet." The silence on the other end revealed the shock of someone who lost control unexpectedly. "But Mom, what if you get sick? What if you need help?" It's interesting how medical concern only appeared when financial convenience disappeared. Care conditioned by control was not love. It was well-disguised manipulation. I hung up the phone and looked around the house that would be mine for a few more hours. Every room held memories of a family that no longer existed. The children I raised with so much love had become greedy strangers, but Walter left me a final gift: the courage to start over. At 72, I would choose dignity instead of family convenience. The true family would be the one that welcomed me for who I was, not for what I owned. Some goodbyes a liberation disguised as loss. The moving truck left at dawn, carrying my life to the lake. I left a note on the kitchen table. "I went to live where I am cherished, not needed. The house is still mine. You can visit it when you learn to visit me." I locked the door for the last time as a resident, but not as an owner. The difference was crucial. I was choosing to leave, not being expelled. Bobby and Jennifer would have to deal with their financial frustrations alone. Independence was expensive, but dignity was priceless. Earl and Dorothy waited for me at the cabin entrance with genuine smiles. "Margaret, Walter told us so much about you that we feel like we're already family." Family, a word that gained new meaning away from biological children. "We've prepared a welcome lunch with the closest neighbors. Everyone is eager to meet the writer Walter admired so much." Writer. Walter saw talents in me that I didn't recognize myself. Perhaps it was time to discover who Margaret truly was, free from others' expectations. The cabin was small but cozy, with a perfect view of the blue lake, a porch with rocking chairs facing the sunset Walter loved so much, a writing desk by the window, with paper and pens waiting for my words. "Walter said you would write the most beautiful story the world has ever seen. The story of a woman who learned to fly even with her wings clipped." Tears came, but they were of gratitude, not sadness or regret. Some endings are actually beginnings disguised as goodbyes. Dorothy showed me the garden where I could plant herbs and vegetables in the summer. Walter planted these tulips for you last spring, she said, pointing to colorful flower beds. He knew I would come, even when I myself didn't imagine that possibility. He said you would need flowers to cheer your heart when you arrived here. Earl built a small greenhouse where I could grow plants year-round. Men who truly love plant gardens for wives, they may never see bloom. Walter's love continued to bloom even after he was gone forever. The first few weeks at the lake passed like a dream of recovered freedom. I woke up when I wanted, not when family obligations demanded my presence. I walked the trail around the lake, chatting with other retirees, people who asked about my feelings, not about my bank account. "Margaret, you look younger every day," Dorothy commented one afternoon. The absence of family stress was erasing years from my tired face. Recovered dignity was the best beauty treatment there is. Bobby only called once in the first 3 weeks of my move. "Mom, Jennifer is very upset about your childish rebellion." Childish rebellion, as if demanding respect were a spoiled child's whim. The buyer for the house backed out and now we're in serious financial trouble. Problems they created by counting on money that was never theirs. You need to come home and resolve this situation like a responsible adult. The irony of being called irresponsible by someone who planned my financial exploitation. "Bobby, this is my home now," I replied, looking at the lake gilded by the sunset. "You can visit me when you learn the difference between love and convenience. Until then, I'll live surrounded by people who value me for who I am." I hung up before he could respond with more emotional manipulations. The peace I felt after that conversation confirmed I had made the right decision. Some bridges need to be burned so we can build better ones. Blood family is sometimes less loyal than chosen family. Earl brought me an old typewriter he found at a garage sale. "Walter said you wrote beautiful letters, full of feeling and truth. Maybe it's time to write letters for the whole world to read." I sat on the porch that first May morning, my fingers hesitant on the keys. How does a woman discover who she really is at 72 years old? Words flowed like dammed water finally finding its way to the sea. Decades of silence were broken by the soft sound of keys tapping on paper. The first story I wrote was about Walter and his silent wisdom, how he protected me from a truth I wasn't ready to see. "My husband taught me that true love sometimes means hiding abundance, to reveal the scarcity of character of those who claim to love us." Dorothy read my first story and cried tears of deep recognition. "Margaret, you wrote the story of many women of our generation, women who belatedly discovered they were loved by the wrong men and exploited by the right children." The women's reading group at the lake met every Thursday at the library. "Margaret, you should share your stories with us," suggested Helen, the retired librarian. "These experiences need to be heard by other women in similar situations." Sharing my pain and discovery seemed scary, but also liberating. How many other women are being manipulated by children who confuse love with money? The following Thursday, I read my story to 8 attentive women. The silence that followed my reading was laden with recognition and mutual understanding. "Margaret, this needs to reach more women," said Ruth, a 78-year-old widow. "My daughter-in-law tried the same thing with me last year. If I hadn't heard your story, I might have fallen into her trap, one by one." The women shared similar experiences of family exploitation. Adult children who saw pensions and inheritances as automatically acquired rights. Daughters-in-law who calculated the value of their mothers-in-law based on future financial contributions. The epidemic of family greed was more common than I imagined. Helen suggested I write for a local newspaper about senior issues. The Lake Tahoe Senior Tribune is always looking for authentic contributors. Your perspective could help many families avoid the mistakes you witnessed. The editor, a 50-year-old woman named Patricia, loved my proposal. "Margaret, your voice is exactly what our readers need to hear. Real stories of real women facing real problems with dignity." My first column would be published in the June issue, with the title, "When Love Becomes a Bank Account." Patricia offered me a monthly column called Letters from Margaret. Write for women who need courage to choose dignity instead of convenience. For those who are discovering that love shouldn't cost their freedom. The salary was modest, but the satisfaction was immeasurable and truly rewarding. At 72, I had found my true hidden calling. Walter would be proud to see his predictions becoming beautiful reality. Some seeds take decades to germinate, but when they bloom, they transform entire gardens. The first column reached hundreds of women in situations similar to mine. Letters began to arrive from all over the state, sharing similar stories. Margaret, you gave me the courage to say no to my son, who wanted my house. Your story showed me that being a mother doesn't mean being an emotional doormat. I found the strength to set boundaries. After reading about your experience, each letter confirmed that my pain had transformed into a greater purpose. Healing comes not only from overcoming trauma, but from transforming it into help for others. In September, 6 months after my move, I received an unexpected call. Grandma Margaret, it's Ashley. My 16-year-old granddaughter's voice sounded different, more mature. I got your number from Earl. I hope you don't mind. My heart pounded with simultaneous emotion and surprise at hearing that dear voice. Ashley, dear, of course I don't mind. How are you? My angel. Actually, Grandma, I'm not doing very well. Can I talk to you? The vulnerability in her voice reminded me of when she was little and needed a hug. Mom and Dad have been fighting a lot since you left, Ashley said sadly. They talk about money all the time, about how you betrayed them. But Grandma, I remember you sending money for my summer camp and for my high school graduation and for many other things. Her intelligence was connecting dots that the adults preferred to hide. Why did they lie about you being out of money? The innocent question cut my heart with the surgical precision of pure truth. I explained to Ashley, with careful words, about the greed that corrupts families. Sometimes, dear, the people we love confuse our love with our resources. Your grandfather, Walter, taught me that money reveals character. It doesn't create character. He hid our financial security to protect our family dignity. Ashley listened in silence, processing truths no teenager should learn so early. Grandma, can I visit you during Christmas break? I want to see this place where you're happy again. Of course you can, my love, but you need your parents' permission. I already asked, and Mom said you're going through a phase, that you'll come back when the money runs out and reality sets in. Jennifer's casual cruelty towards my new life surprised me. But Grandma, Tyler and I don't believe that version of the story. We want to hear your version, not the version that suits them. My grandchildren's loyalty moved me more than any public recognition could. Ashley told me about the constant arguments between Bobby and Jennifer. Uncle Bobby is angry because Mom's new house deal fell through. And Mom is angry because you didn't come back to your rightful place. But Grandma, I don't think your place is taking care of their problems. My granddaughter's precocious wisdom filled me with pride and hope. You sound happier on the phone than you have in years. Your voice is different, more free. Even a teenager could perceive my transformation from a distance. Ashley, tell me about your dreams, your plans for the future. For an entire hour, we talked about college, careers, relationships, topics we never had space to discuss in tense family gatherings. Grandma, you always wanted to write? Mom said you have a newspaper column now. Always wanted to, dear, but never had time just for myself. Now I have time, space, and important stories to tell. The conversation with Ashley reminded me why it's worth fighting for dignity. Tyler, my 14-year-old grandson, picked up the phone at the end of the conversation. Grandma, I'm sorry if the adults were bad to you. Ashley explained some things to me, and now I understand why you left. My grandchildren's emotional maturity contrasted cruelly with their parents' immaturity. Grandma, when I grow up, I'll visit you always, not just when I need money. His words made me cry tears of gratitude mixed with sadness. Some hopes are planted by the next generation when the current one disappoints us. On the first anniversary of Walter's death, I organized a memorial at the lake. Earl, Dorothy, and all the neighbors came to honor a man they had never met personally. Walter lives through the Love You show for Margaret, Helen said during the simple ceremony. He knew that a community would embrace what family rejected. We floated candles on the lake at sunset, each flame representing a cherished memory. Bobby and Jennifer didn't show up, but they weren't invited to the sacred moment either. Some celebrations of love are too small to include people who are too big. My column, Letters from Margaret, completed a year of publication in December. Patricia offered me a contract to turn the columns into a book. Margaret, you have touched the hearts of thousands of women across the country. New York publishers are interested in your full story. The idea of becoming a published author at 73 seemed surreal but exciting. Your book could help an entire generation of women find their voice. Walter always said I had important stories to tell the world. Ashley and Tyler came to visit me during winter break, against their parents' wishes. Grandma, this place is magical, Ashley said on the first morning, looking at the frozen lake. I understand why you chose to stay here instead of going home. Tyler built snowmen in the garden while I prepared hot chocolate. Grandma, you cook better when you're happy, he observed with profound simplicity. We spent 2 weeks discovering each other away from family pressure. True love flourishes in free soil, not in controlled land. Jennifer called on the last day of the children's visit, her voice filled with resentment. Mom, you're alienating my children against me. Ashley came back talking about dignity and female independence, and Tyler asked why we never talk about Grandma's feelings. The emotional education I offered my grandchildren threatened her manipulative control. Jennifer, I'm teaching your children the difference between love and convenience. If that alienates them from you, maybe it's time to examine your own methods. Truth spoken with love is still truth, even when it hurts the listener. You destroyed our family, Jennifer accused with a voice trembling with anger. I saved what was left of dignity in a family you were destroying. The family you wanted was based on my submission and exploitation. The family I built here is based on mutual respect and genuine affection. The contrast was too clear to be denied, even by her. Your children visit me because they want to, not because they need something. The fundamental difference between healthy and toxic relationships was exposed. Bobby showed up the following spring, unannounced, driving down the lake road. I was in the garden planting tomatoes when I saw his car stop. He got out hesitantly, like someone unsure of the reception he would receive. Mom, he simply said, his hands empty for the first time in years. I came to apologize and try to understand what happened to us. The humble Bobby who appeared was different from the arrogant lawyer I knew. Sometimes, losing everything we want teaches us to value what we need. We sat on the porch looking at the lake, Bobby and I, talking like we hadn't in decades. He admitted that greed had blinded him and Jennifer to the love they always had for me. Mom, when you left, I realized I never asked if you were happy, only if you were paying the bills. His tears were of genuine regret, not calculated manipulation. I told him about my new life, about the columns, about the book I was writing. You look 10 years younger, Mom. And for the first time in a long time, you look like yourself. We agreed that some relationships need to break completely, to be rebuilt on stronger foundations. True love survives the truth, even when the truth cuts deep. Today, 2 years after leaving that house in Maple Heights, I wake up every morning grateful for the courage I found to choose dignity. My book, Letters to Helen, When Love Becomes a Bank Account, will be published in the fall. Ashley is preparing for college and visits me whenever she can. Tyler sends me handwritten letters about his dreams and fears. Bobby comes to the lake once a month, trying to rebuild the relationship he almost destroyed. Jennifer is not yet ready to admit her mistakes, but I've left the door open for when she is. Some people need more time to understand that love is not bought, it's earned. And me, at 74, I finally discovered who Margaret truly is when she's not serving others' expectations. If you're going through something similar, remember, it's never too late to choose yourself. Let us know in the comments if this story touched your heart, and subscribe to the channel for more stories of women who found the courage to start over. If you know any woman who needs to hear this message of hope, share this video with her. Sometimes a story of courage is all we need to find our own strength. And don't forget to hit the bell to be notified whenever we post a new story here on Letters to Helen.